Welcome to the Water Action Platform. This is a short, focused episode bringing you a story that will help shape the future of the water sector. No long panels, no unnecessary noise, just insights that matter. My name is Piers Clark, and my guest today is Andrew Blenkharn from Northumbrian Water. Andrew, brilliant to have you with us.
Thanks very much, Piers. I'm Andrew Blenkharn. I'm a technical policy manager at Northumbrian Water. Been working in leakage strategy for about the last 5 years.
Excellent. And we're going to talk about one of the technologies you've been testing and trialing, and that is FIDO Tech. Tell me, what is FIDO Tech and what is it you've been doing with them?
Well, the FIDO Tech, it's an acoustic listening device that will go out on the network to listen for leaks. So there's different ways of using this, and we've kind of had different projects with FIDO over the last few years as we're trying to understand how it best works for us and how it fits into our business model. In the early days, we did leakage detection as a service, so FIDO would come in with their own technicians. We would basically give them a DMAs where we suspect there's leakage. They would go in, deploy the sensors, find the leaks, and then they would raise them for us to then make the repairs.
Excellent. And just to be clear, they've got this device that they put into the water network.
It's attached onto the network, so it doesn't go into the water company. It attaches onto the side of the pipe with a magnet, and then you would deploy them throughout the DMA, spaced out, depending on where the fittings are and where they can access the network. And then that would listen for the leaks. And then there's AI within the platform that would then identify whether they think it's leakage or other noises and potentially the size of the leak and the priority for us. More recently, we've been looking over the winter period about whether we could be more proactive about the areas or the DMAs that we were expecting to break out in winter weather conditions. So there's certain pipe materials and soil types, and we've got historic flow data of where we think the most likely parts of the network are to break out. So what we try to do is get ahead of the curve a little bit, and we put some of these sensors out so that they would be able to be left out rather than picking up, downloading the data. It was about leaving them out in the network for a period of 6 months. So we started putting them out in December, and then we had a big outbreak event in January. So we hadn't quite got all of them out, but then we were still deploying through January. And
I assume the AI is learning all the time, so it's getting a better understanding of your network.
Yeah, it will be continually based on the feedback of leaks found, validating that was the leak shape and things like that. With the permanent ones, they're listening all the time. They wake up and take samples constantly. I suppose you're building up that picture of what the normal noise in the network looks like. And when you get a change, so you can compare that. So yeah, it is a process of getting around all those points of interest, and we've had good successes with that.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like you're happy. It sounds like you've tried this. It takes time because it's got to bed in. It's got to learn what the network typically sounds like so it can then listen for changes. And then there's a learning for both the FIDO Tech to know what the system's doing, but also for your colleagues to know how to respond to that messaging and where they need to go to and how quickly they can respond.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely still learning about how best to respond to the alarm, because we have a process where we will target the DMAs with the highest leakage, but then we've got this technology here that there's a leak and we've got a pretty good idea where that leak is, but it might not be a huge flow. But if we can resolve that quickly and stop it increasing over months until we get in there and it becomes a priority. So it's trying to understand how we prioritize this against our existing processes.
You mentioned earlier that it can tell you the size of the leak.
Yeah, there's an indication on there. It's supposed to be large, medium, small, to give us a bit of help with that prioritization.
Tell me, how big a DMA have you been testing on?
We've put this in 17 DMAs, so we've been focusing on around the Newcastle area. Now, FIDO had done the analysis themselves. We provided the flow data of that historical DMA profile, so they actually did the work to identify where they thought the winter breakout would affect the DMAs the most. So we tried to pick the ones where we were likely to see leaks in the winter period. I think there's around 500 sensors out there, permanently deployed for 6 months. That's running through till June. And then we'll go through a process of looking at the cost benefit and ask what's the cost of the technology and that service against how we managed to reduce the leakage. Was it quicker than what we would have done previously if we walk around the whole area? So it's all that weighing up the cost of the technology against the cost of the benefit and the long-term approach.
I get you can't obviously comment on a future procurement process, but from where you sit, it sounds like you like this technology and it's doing what it should be doing for you.
Yeah, I think it's positive. It's definitely working. I think the crux of it is going to be around how much would it cost to deploy this, upscale it across the network, and how much reduction is it going to give us.
I would expect nothing less. You've made a good point there for commercial tension to maybe kept focused so that the technology works, but is going to deliver value for Northumbrian Water and your customers.
We've also done a side project on this as well, which was using the similar sensors, but doing like a lift and shift approach. So when we had that winter outbreak, we had leaks, then FIDO responding really well. We just asked if we could get some sets of their loggers, because we were bringing people that didn't have a leakage background from other roles in the business to support the recovery. So we managed to get 15 sets of about 75 FIDO sensors, and we trained up our technicians, and then they were deploying them. So we were getting through DMAs quicker.
That is absolutely brilliant. So you called it lift and shift. That's basically taking the sensors you already had and moving them to different DMAs, or getting new sensors in and doing short-term deployments.
It was about getting new sensors. So again, the speed of turnaround to get them deployed and delivered to us was brilliant. They came and did the training. So we had inexperienced technicians able to deploy the loggers, leave them out overnight, pick them up, download them. You would then get the points of interest. They were passed over to the leakage technicians to go and find the leaks. And then the deployers would go to the next area or work through the DMA. So it was all about the speed that we were able to deliver and then get that additional technology in just to see us through at the end of the year. Certainly one of the tools that we used in the winter recovery that worked well for us.
Excellent. I love stories of success where new tech's come in, it's been applied, everyone's learned from it, and you are able to share that success. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.